Hello, everyone. Hi. I hope everyone is enjoying the break today, 4th of July holiday. So, and I'm coming with this week's topic for the last word. And it is, let me scoot over because I feel myself trying to lean to get in the center of the vid here. So, let me adjust it. I always have to try to adjust it. I gotta start learning how to have everything in order. But I'm excited about today's topic, and I'm not gonna say super excited, right? But I am gonna say that I had to come and do this topic. Excuse me, let me fix my little head. I had to come and do this topic because I need the release. And like I said, my name is Tanisha. This is the last word, and the last word is just my journey, me vlogging my journey to personal development. That piece of hair keeps sticking up, y'all. I'm sorry, I gotta fix it. But anyway, my journey to personal development as far as mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc., etc. Right? And I am going to get to the physical part of it too, right? But I think with my last word journey, I am just being true. I have just been truly blessed because it has helped me just to air out a lot of stuff that other people experience too. And a lot of times people wouldn't dare, air it out. I wouldn't dare air it out. Like, this is crazy to me. I'm like, oh my God, I would never ever do this. And so me doing this is actually something that's beneficial to me because I didn't realize sometimes the very thing that you are afraid to do is the very thing that will bring you the most joy, the most peace. I feel so relieved that now that I'm doing my channel and this the last word channel, because it's like, who do you talk to? And of course you do have God. For those who are believers, you pray in faith and you believe and you let everything, don't be anxious for anything, but by prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God, right? And I'm like, Lord, I'm a talker. I like to talk to others and with others. And not only that, sometimes talking things out, even just on my own, brings a lot of release for me. And I've noticed that throughout the years, right? So that's why I created this space. But then I wanted to extend it on this space in this YouTube channel as a space for not only me to be heard, but for you to be heard also. So today we are going to talk about accepting singleness. And I knew I had to bring this topic this week because I had a very, very strong opinion about it on my Facebook page. And you can find me on Facebook, Tanisha Davis, T-Y-N like Nancy, E-S-H-A, Tanisha Davis, D-V-I-S, right? So you can find me on Facebook. I also have the Last Word fan page on Facebook as well. So you can find me on Facebook at it's the Last Word at the Last Word 2018. So now that that's out of the way, I'll get right into it and talk about first. I wanted to talk a little bit about accepting singleness first of all, because that is a hard thing that I have struggled with throughout my life, and I'm older now. I don't really want to say my age, but I'm old enough, but I did post my age on Facebook. So, but I'm old enough to the point where I'm like, okay, God, I should be established with a family, a husband, and a family by now. And I'm not, and I'm not. I've never been married, but I'm not alone. And I'm grateful for, me understanding that, hey, I'm not the only woman who is this age who have never been married. There are a lot of women who are my age and have never been married, especially black women. And I'm like, well, Lord, this is so cliche. Another black woman talking about her singleness. Another, black woman who's never been married, child out of wedlock, another. And I'm like, okay, well, Lord, I have to learn how to accept my singleness. And I really need to go. Really need to allow myself to just go on my channel and just let it out. Because if I don't, it's just going to it's going to stay right there on my chest, right there at the forefront of my mind. I need to release it. And I'm like, I never ever wanted to talk about it. Like I said, it's just a cliche thing. But firstly, before I get into a special feature book review that I want to do, I just wanted to discuss singleness a little bit. And I had posted on my page, and I was like, okay, a lot of people say that you have to be a wife before you get married, which is true, right? Because the Bible does say that. So, but I think a lot of times with some of us who aren't married or never been married, and I know for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but you can speak for yourself if you come on and chime in, and or if you go ahead and post a comment or what have you, you can be able to speak that and share in this discussion for this week's topic, right? But I think the problem that I've had is accepting the fact that I'm single, because throughout my adolescent youth, even despite me having a child out of wedlock, I still had hope. And I say had hope because sometimes right now I'm dealing with rediscovering the hope and rediscovering, the faith that it's still possible for me. And obviously it is, right? I mean, it obviously is, but a lot of times with young women like myself, and even some young women who haven't been married yet, they have a struggle with believing that it can happen for them. And I know I have struggled with believing that it can happen for me because it didn't. Like, I have evidence of why I don't believe it or why I have that doubt and that disbelief. But I do pray and I ask God to help me with that doubt and help me with that disbelief, and everything like that. And the reason why is because it didn't happen. Okay, it's not so like the reason why we have doubt or disbelief. It could be a solid reason that God can see. Okay, I see why that you are doubting and why you are unbelieving, but you cannot receive from the Heavenly Father and you without faith, right? So we have to pray for God to help us with our disbelief and with our doubt, despite of the situation. And of course, one example, and I don't want to go on and talk, because I want to make this kind of quick and everything like that. But we got to think about the woman with the issue of blood, right? Because the one with the issue of blood, she suffered for 12 long years. I know a friend when I was younger coming up who had an issue like that. And I don't know if they suffered for 12 years or nothing like that, but they had an issue like that. But they went on to have, children and everything. And, despite that issue, right? So God can change things. And when you look at someone else's life who God has changed their life and has come in and healed and blessed them. And then when you look at the one with the issue of blood in the Word of God, how she had that issue of blood for 12 long years, right? And but she just believed in spite of the evidence that told her that, okay, you're never going to be healed. In spite of that, like, she had sound good, just reason to not believe that her situation could change. The doctors that she went through, the money that she spent, her life savings and everything she spent trying to heal her issue. But she had faith to believe that if I can just touch the hem of his garment, I know that I can be healed. And she pushed through the crowd to touch Jesus even after that, all that time. I think in my personal experience with me not being married, and it's like, okay, God, it's because a lot of people give you canned answers when you discuss, married, being married or not getting married yet, or okay, when will my day ever come? When will I ever be married? Right? You get a lot of canned answers, but part of what has given me strength to come on and even do this talk this week is I had a talk with, an older woman who is wise. She's married as well, and I believe she's married to a pastor. And I was so grateful that I had that talk with her, because I didn't feel like I got a canned answer. But honestly and truly, what she said to me is probably, an answer that I've heard before, or that, could be considered a canned answer. And when I say a canned answer, all those things that people tell you, oh, just wait, oh, don't think about it, oh, this and that, just, and it's like they never really understand or listen to what your situation is And she just really talked it out with me from a natural perspective and from a spiritual perspective of understanding. And I like the way the advice that she gave, or the talk that she gave me, because what she did is she took the spiritual aspect of it and was able to help me understand how to apply that to the natural. Okay. And she was like, okay, there's certain things that you want to have in your life to make sure that when God does send you a husband, that you have together, or that you have to offer or to bring to the table. And that could seem like a canned answer, right? But I appreciate the way that she said that, because you've heard that before, right? And it's not anything different, but I appreciate what she did, because from the spiritual aspect of it, or from the natural perspective anyway, that's when I had shared with her. I was like, well, sometimes, the guys that I have dated before maybe didn't even have what I had. So I feel like, okay, I am bringing something to the table. And there were times in my life where I didn't have the things that I have now, and I didn't have much to bring to the table either. And so that's no pun to any guy that I've ever dated, because I don't look at life like that anyway. I don't look at life and things from a material standpoint, because I'm not a materialistic person. So like, I don't ever put down, any guy that I've dated or anything like that. I just always look at myself to say, okay, why didn't this work? Or what did I do wrong? And and sometimes it's not anything that I've done wrong. It just wasn't a compatible person. That person just was not compatible for me. You know what I'm saying? So I have experienced hurt and pain from like broken relationships and different things like that. But now my mindset and the way that I view my life now, and the way that I look at things differently now, it's like, okay, it just didn't work, because that just wasn't meant to be. And not only that, a lot of, one experience that I had in a relationship allowed me to grow like immensely. Okay. Like, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about a man. I learned a lot that I never would have suspected that I would learn. So even though I was hurt by the experience, even though I feel like I suffered some things that was unusual, but that I had never, suffered or experienced in a relationship before, I learned a lot, and it made me wiser, stronger, and it made me want a man again. Even though it was a bad experience, but not the bad part of it, but the good part of it, because there were good things about the relationship as well. So I never ever want to knock my experience, because I have learned so much from it, right? But now I'm at a point in my life where I put a post on Facebook. I'm like, look, I cannot take this anymore. I just want a man in my life. And I think that could be a vulnerable moment. And then, of course, but let me get back to what she was saying. But anyway, when I spoke to the lady, what she brought in from the spiritual aspect of it into the natural, to help you to kind of have an idea and to know and to gauge when it is really of God, and when it's, could be of your flesh, is, first of all, she said, okay, God ain't gonna send you somebody that don't have anything. First of all, they're gonna be ready in every area of the life, okay, financially. And let me say that one of my past experiences with a relationship that I had before, one of the main, even Steve Harvey has said this, that one of the main reasons why some men won't go forward with marriage, even though they may feel like you're the one, is because a man wants to be financially stable before they marry. They do not want to be without. And that's one of the things that she pointed out to me. She was like, well, when God sends your husband, he is going to be stable, first of all. So he is going to be stable. He's going to be able to provide. God is not going to send you someone that is not able and capable of providing for you. You understand? So I was so grateful for that. She made me feel like I was going to get married today. Okay, because that was yesterday. I think it was like the day before yesterday when we had the conversation. So anyway, whenever she had the conversation with me, it was full of hope. The same way that the book review that I'm going to do, that I'm going to have to hurry up and get into before we get away with the time. But I'm grateful for that. Now, on the flip side, okay, there was older woman who was wise, seasoned with grace. I don't know if I should say older, but I'm just gonna say wiser. Let me just say that, a wiser woman, seasoned with grace, married, been married for years. I believe her husband is a pastor. Awesome woman of God. And I don't want to share her because I didn't tell her that I would, so I don't want to, do that. But she's an amazing woman of God, seasoned with grace. And that was one of the things that she said, and that helped me. Like, there was a light bulb, like, from a spiritual biblical standpoint, that helped me to understand now, okay, duh. Of course, God's not going to send me someone that cannot provide for me or meet my needs, first of all, right? And like I said, that statement that I heard from Steve Harvey. I haven't read Steve Harvey's book or nothing like that, and maybe I should, and that'll help me even more. But I did hear him mention one time in just like his morning show on the radio, is that's one of the main things that will prevent a man from moving forward with a woman into marriage, is not being financially stable. So, and that was one of the things that she pointed out to me. And it was another thing that she had pointed out to me too. She listened to me and she was like, okay, what do you do after you get off work? Because she's also a coworker of mine. So she was like, what do you do? Where do you go? Like on a day-to-day basis, not just, sporadic events. But what do you do on a day-to-day basis? And I'm like, well, I go home. I work my side business. I do have a side business that I do. And I do events and different things like that, like self-help events. But a lot of times guys aren't going to be at like a woman's self-help event, right? I mean, because I went to Keandra's book signing, I did the Billionaire Vision Board Party. But those things that I went to are for women, are generally targeted toward women. Not that men can't come, but they're not going to come, okay? They're not going to be in that space. And I'm like, well, I go out to eat every now and then, and I go by myself. I don't mind going out to eat by myself. So, different things like that. And so that was another thing that she pointed out to me. And I guess that's not really spiritual, but just from a natural point of view that you don't really think about your day to day. I mean, because when you're young, you're in high school, you go to football games, you do a lot of things. And even with college, if you're in college, you're around a lot more people, you're more social. But older, as you get age, and you begin to work, you go to work, you come home. That's it. I mean, I'm an outgoing person, but in my early 30s or whatnot, it wasn't like I needed to be outgoing or anything like that. I mean, I was living in a small town, and a lot of people know I was living in Morristown or whatnot, and I would just work and go home. I didn't have a social life. Like, I didn't go anywhere or do anything like that. So, but at that time I was, in a relationship, I thought. Let me just say that. But I just thank God for his power. I thank God for knowing God and having an experience in my life with God, even during times in my life where I failed, meaning that I became disobedient and different things like that in my walk and my faith with God. Like, I'm grateful for even those experiences too, right? And not saying or condoning it or anything like that, but saying that I learned my lesson, and God will always show you that, okay, this is where you got off at. This is where you went wrong. This is where, okay, now you see the fruit of your labor, or no labor, right? When you're not laboring in me, you do not bear good fruit and you do not have a good harvest, right? So it's like you have to go back. The word tells you have to go back and do your first works over again. Now, here you are. You should be having the meat of the word. Meaning, and I think when Paul was speaking to I think it was the Corinthians, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But whenever Paul was giving that message, saying that, okay, you should be having the meat of the word, but now you're having to go back and have the milk like little children again, like babes all over again. And I think, to me, the way I interpret that, of course, at the same time, is that you should be not only having the meat of the word of God, where it's been able to get more in-depth training, spiritual training and spiritual growth, but that you should also be reaping that abundance of God as well at this point in your life. But you can't, because you having to do your first works over again, and you just didn't get it right the first time, and And that's what I feel like I'm experiencing too at the same time, okay? And let me not continue to go on. I went on for 20 minutes. But one other thing that I did want to say is that I have a girlfriend of mine, and me and her got into this big old fuss. Oh, you don't love yourself and blah, blah, blah. And that's the one thing that I wanted to address is this whole single woman, movement or ideal and concept that if you don't embrace this whole happiness about being single, that you don't love yourself. Like, I love myself, okay? Like, and I wanted to kind of just wear my little love t-shirt to represent, but just because I got a love t-shirt don't mean I love myself, right? But no, genuinely, I love myself. I love everything about myself. And I think this whole thing about being single is like, okay, I can never expose, the fact that, or disclose the fact that I just want a man. Okay, I'm tired of being single, because if you do that, then you don't love yourself. Like, I don't get that. And we had a whole, argument about that. And if you say that, oh, you just look desperate and all of this, no. If I say that, I look like a heterosexual woman that is normal. Like, to me, that is normal of, a heterosexual woman who has that desire. But now some women just don't mind being single. You understand? Like, I don't mind being single either. I am just ready to be in a relationship and to start building toward a relationship that could possibly lead to marriage, right? Like, I just don't understand what's so wrong. What's the taboo of saying that? Just because I say that don't mean I don't love myself. You understand? And I had this conversation too before with, an ex of mine or whatever. And it's like, you need to love you. Focus on you like I do love me. I do focus on me. I do what I'm supposed to do. I take care of my son. I do everything that I'm supposed to do for myself. Could I do better? Yes. Okay. Is it a time that someone could come in your life at a time that, I don't know. I just feel like when a person that is right for you comes along in your life, if it's the right time in your life, it doesn't mean all the strings in your life will be tied. I mean, I've heard experiences from women and of men where they came together and built together. It wasn't like they had everything together, but because they love one another, they were able to come together and build together. Now, I'm already building, you understand? So I'm pretty sure that with me, continuing to build myself up, take care of myself, take care of business, build my business, write my book that I intend to write as well. And I'm so inspired by her, writing her own book as well, and things that I want to do. But it was this whole thing. So it's like, I'm just the kind of person, I like being honest, and I like truth. I like walking in truth, and I like speaking truth. Like, when somebody says yay or nay, it doesn't mean, okay, they're against this or against that. Like, they're just stating what it is they're for. But a lot of times the fallacy could be in that is that when you say you stand for something, it, in a way, in a roundabout way, it does put you in a stance against something else. So I think that we do, like, if we do state certain things, we do need to remember to say, okay, hey, I'm for this, but that doesn't mean I'm against that. That way it can be clear what it is that you're communicating, because it could be misconstrued, and different things like that. So, but golly, this is so good. We might have to have a part two. But anyway, so we went out and had a big old argument about that. And I'm like, look, okay, I like my single life. I like being able to get up and be free and go do this and go do that. Without being tied down, and different things like that. And another thing I wanted to point out is a message that I heard T.D. Jakes speak about. And he had spoke, it was a message about singleness. And he was like, sometimes single people just sit around and wait and wait and wait and wait before pursuing their life. And I liked it because it was really profound in the fact that it said you need to pursue a whole life while you're single. Now, that was really profound to me, because as I was younger, I never ever thought I would be here still single. Like, and this is how some women may have thought, but I don't know. You chime me and tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what you think about it, right? Because when you're younger, you do imagine that you will age and get married at some point, whether it's before 21, 25, 30, 35, right? So I had always imagined that at least before I turned 21 or 25 or 30 or 35, like that I would be married. And so when those numbers started coming out of my life, and you know, that's another thing. God is not going to do things according in our life according to his time. But when if someone states that they want their desire to be married or their desire to be in a relationship, doesn't mean that they're negating those things. And that was the whole conversation that I was having with my girlfriend. Like, I'm not negating that, you know, and I'm not negating any of those things. That we should be grateful for what we have. That we should, you know, enjoy our life now. That's so true, and we shouldn't be concerned about what it is that, you know, we don't have now. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have friends that can tell me those things, but at the same time, I just want to be free and be honest to say that yes, I am happy single, but I would be more happy if I was in a relationship. And I just don't think it's anything wrong with me being honest to say that, because in the relationship that I had, I was happy. But a lot of times people come in and they want to take that happiness from you. And then if the people who are in a relationship, that's the reason why I love people who are in relationships, and I love marriage, and I respect people's relationship, and I respect marriage, is because of the fact that outsiders can sometimes try to deter you from that when you and that other individual are genuinely happy. But I think that, you know, you have to be strong. Both individuals have to be strong to not allow those outside people or influence or anything like that to deter you from the partner that you're happy with. If you're happy with that partner, then you have to be able to let your friends and your family know that, hey, this person treats me well. Of course, if they're not abusive or not cheating on you and not being dishonest with you in that relationship, right? But I think a lot of times that, like I said, I don't want to get on. No, I keep just going on. This is good. We're going to probably have to do a part two. But anyway, well, see, I never ever wanted to talk about singleness, and look how good it is. And I think it's because I had the encouragement from my girlfriend. Even though we went back and forth, it was still encouragement, because I'm just grateful to have a friend that can get in my face and say, hey, whatever. And then I'm grateful for the talk that I had with my coworker. I don't think if I didn't have those conversations, and of course praying it through and then thinking it through, you know, in my thought process with God in mind, and God saying, hey, this is where you got off at, and this is, you know, the reason why, and this is why. And I think when I think about the statement that you have to be a wife before you get married, and I put a statement on Facebook that, hey, I'm having trouble just accepting the fact that I'm single. So I think I have to really embrace my singleness, just me being alone and not in a relationship, and then move from accepting my singleness to understanding that, hey, okay, moving my mindset into a wife. I'm a wife. I had that mindset before, but I got off. And that's the reason why I said I know that God, you know, speaks to me and say, hey, okay, this is where you got off at, because you were there, but the enemy can try to steal that from you. And but I'm grateful, because I know that God is faithful to his promises, and that he can give us double for what the enemy tried to steal and take away from us, right? So, but I was there at one point in my life, and when it didn't happen, that has caused me to have doubt and disbelief at this point in my life. It's like, okay, God. And another thing that my friend says was, quit thinking about it. You know, I had mentioned that earlier. Quit thinking about it. Keep your mind off of it, and different things like that. And I've been there, done that. Got a T-shirt for it, right? And the reason why I say that is because there have been times in my life where I didn't even. A man was the last thing on my mind. I was taking care of my son. I was devoted to God. I was in church, celibate, all that, right? And serving God in church, right? And different things like that. And when those things that happened, I did get discouraged, and I got in my flesh, and I said, "Forget this. I'm done." You understand? And I think of course, I never should do that, obviously, right? But it happened, and I have to be able to get it off my chest to say, okay, this happened, I went wrong, and get over it and move on with my life, and accept the fact that I'm single. And hey, this could be, if this were to be my fate in my life for the rest of my life, then what? And that's the reason why I said early in my life, I knew and expected that at some point I would get married. But when it didn't happen at certain times in my life, and I looked up, still not married yet, what's going on? It was like I was lost. That's where I began to become lost. It was like I lost myself in a life that I thought I would have that didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, it made me become lost. It's like I lost myself in a man that wasn't even in my life. You know how some women get married and they actually do lose themselves in a man, so that when they get divorced, they don't know what to do with themselves because they were so wrapped up in that man. It was like I was so wrapped up in a life that I was just certain would occur, but it didn't. And when it didn't, I woke up and was lost, like, what do I do now? Like, I didn't have a plan for my life without that idea of having a husband. And that's another thing that TD Jakes had mentioned in one of his messages, that you have to let go of what you had in mind, you know, to be free from what it is that you had in mind. And that's what I had in mind. I mean, I just was certain that I was going to be getting married, you know, at some point in my life. And when I didn't, I was lost. And now it's like, that's hence the last word, hence this channel. I'm a talker and different things like that. And talking about things like this and different topics that I like discussing is like, family and friends is like, okay, we over it with you. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go over here and create this channel and just talk about different things that I like talking about on my channel. So, and Lord, we done went into 30 minutes. I had no idea it was going to get this long, but it was really, really good. So here, now we're going to talk about Keandra Wilson. Keandra Wilson's book. It's called Life at a Glance. And I still have more to say, so I know we probably ain't going to get to no part 2 on this, but I really, really, really liked her book. And so if you look up Life at a Glance, she does have a page for her book. If you look up Miss Keandra Raglan Wilson is how her name is on Facebook. You also see her on Facebook. This book is so full of grace, truth, and oh my God, it's just has so much hope, grace, truth. It is just rich in spirit. Like, you know, God's anointing was on her when she wrote this book. And then it's just so rich, you know, with truth. You know, it's like so piercing. The book is just awesome. And it is a easy read. It's not like, you know, she really comes down to earth and down to the heart and gets to the heart of the matter. You understand? And today is the 4th of July, so I know probably won't have many viewers or whatnot. But she really comes down to the heart and down to earth and really puts things in perspective from a spiritual perspective, right? From a spiritual perspective to natural in a way that you can really apply to your life. That is the cover. Okay, so I'm just showing you the cover. That's her and a picture of her and her husband. But I don't want to give too much up out of the book, right? But I like it because she's local. For, you know, I understand being global and all of that, and that's great. But I think God, when he wants to elevate you and take you places and different things like that, I think, you know, there's an appreciation that you have to have for those who are here in your own city and those and things that are going on around in your own city, right? And I had did a video about One City, One Movement, and it was about the Pray Knox movement. It was local, devotional book, a prayer book for the whole year, and that's something that's going on in our city. I like her because she's the author in our city. We have several authors in our city, right? Obviously, right? Several amazing people in our city doing great things, and that's who I want to connect with. I want to connect with people here locally who are doing great things. Like, you know, I've already did the Billionaire Vision Board Party with All Things Reagan. I like things that she does here locally in the city. I want to connect with more people who are doing things local here in the city. But I have to talk about the one thing in this whole book that was like aha for me. Excuse me, in this whole book. And but like I said, not to give too much away, but she has like volume 1 of the book. And that volume 1 talks about her life, you know, as a single person, some of the struggles that she went through. I will disclose that she, you know, got pregnant at 15 years old. This is someone that lived in the neighborhood like a block away from me, where I grew up. This is one thing, this reason why it's so touching to me and so personable to me, because I know her. You understand? Like, we had some of the same experiences growing up in the 80s and going into the early 90s, right? As teenage girls, we had some of the same experiences in our life. And this is why her testimony, her book, is so profound to me. It was able to reach me. You understand? Because I know her life, and I know, I have had some of the similar experiences. I didn't get pregnant at 15 or anything like that, but I still got pregnant as a teen girl, and I still did things that she was doing at that age. You understand what I'm saying? But God turned everything around in her life, in my life. I'm still struggling. Okay, that's the one thing about me is truth. I'm just gonna walk in truth. I cannot, walk in anything else but truth. Let's just put it like that, so that way we won't get all off, because I'll keep talking and I will get off. But anyway, so the first part, she talks about her single life, the volume 1, and the title of that volume 1 is Life as a Single Woman, right? And then it goes into volume 2. And then volume 2 talks about, and like I said, I don't want to give much of the book away. You can just go get it at Amazon. It is available at Amazon and different things like that. And I don't get anything, for promoting her book. This is just a book that has been a blessing to me. And I feel like it could possibly also bless you as well if you're a believer. Some people don't get into all that, this God self-help stuff, but I do. This is a foundation for my life. This is what has carried me through a lot of hard times in my life. I just don't think, if I didn't have faith in God, or didn't believe in God, or didn't have God's word, didn't pray, didn't fast, all that right there that I have done. And this is the reason why I'm like, okay, God, I understand this, because I was faithful to you, and at times in my life. But like I said, there were times that I got off, and those are probably the times that the enemy was able to steal the harvest that God had for me. You understand? So, but I can't cry about it now. Can't cry with spilled milk. It is what it is. This is my life, and I have to live it and be able to be grateful for it, because God is allowing me to wake up every day, right? And so I have to still be thankful and grateful to God for His faithfulness, because I could have died. I could be dead right now, but God has given me life, and I have to be grateful for that, and love myself while I'm single. All that right there, okay? So, and then the volume 2 talks about marriage and togetherness. And it talks about how she, met her husband, how they began to date, and how their family, how her family began to blend together, because she had took her nephews in, and how God sent her a man who still was able to accept that, and to accept the fact that she had 2 children already. She has a daughter who's, an adult age now. So, and how God sent her a husband who accepted that, those things in her life. So at the same time that God is preparing us as a single woman, He is preparing that man that is going to come along. He's preparing that man as a single man to be able to accept certain things about us whenever they come in our life, and things that we have to accept about them as well. So my thing is just accept the fact, first of all, that I'm single. I have to accept that first before I can become a wife, because I'm stunned. Let me just say that I'm very stunned, because I really strongly did believe by faith that it was going to happen in my life, and at an earlier time, at the time I thought, right? And when it didn't, I was stunned, and my whole life I was lost. You understand? So that's sometimes what can occur. But let me get to the one thing that was very, very profound to me in this book. This one statement in the whole book. I don't know if it was, you've probably heard this before. I know I probably heard this before. But with everything in this book, this whole book, for me, it spoke to me in this one sentence. and it's a section on worth, because she has a section talking about worth. And in that section on page 53, there's a statement, and it says, deceived women do not believe they are loved and valued by God. Y'all, I'm gonna try not to be emotional right now, but I was deceived. I'm gonna tell you how, because I did love God. I do, and I still love God, right? I said did, but I did love God. Like, I gave God my all. You understand? I do still love God today, but I think today, with me in my life at this point, with things that I've done in my life, I'm trying to, like, okay, I have some things that I need to clean up to be able to get free from, because I allow sin to come in my life and to deter me and take me off the path that God had for me, right? So at this point in my life, I do love God, but now it's in a way that I am seeking deliverance from God, from some of the things that I allowed to come into my life and to deter me from what He had for me and His purpose in my life, right? So this spoke to me because of that reason. Like, I was deceived. You understand? Like, I love God and I gave God my all and everything. And I had put this statement like on my Last Word channel or something like that. Not Last Word channel, but the Last Word Facebook fan book page. And what that did, it spoke to me because I love God and I gave Him my everything, but I don't think I truly believe that God loved me. You understand? It's like one example that I thought of, because I knew I was going to point this out, and one example that I thought of that wanted me to, that I want to bring out here, is the fact that, okay, it's like you in a relationship with somebody and you love that person. Because that's what it is, basically. It's a relationship that you have with God anyway, right? So, it's like I love God, or it's like a relationship that you can have with somebody and you love that person dearly, you know, but for some reason you don't acknowledge or understand that that person loves you too. They love you back, you know? And if you don't understand that, you could be deceived. You could be deceived if you don't understand the love that the other person has for you. And that's the same way it is with God. And that's what I think was so profound to me, is understanding. And it's in the section about worth. It's so ironic that this is in the part where it talks about worth, because I've always had issues with self-esteem and worth. And this is why, okay, now I'm starting to learn and see why, okay, no, I'm not a wife yet. Because a wife knows their worth and they know their value, and they don't need a relationship or a man to do that. And it's not that I felt like I needed a man or a relationship to establish my worth to me. It was just because all the reasons why I wanted to be married at that time in my life, because I was, in church and different things like that, were biblically based. I wanted to be married because of biblical reasons. Like the Bible tells you that you should not burn with passion. You should get married. You understand different things like that. I wanted to be married so that I wouldn't be in, fornication or anything like that, and different reasons like that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I misunderstood what the Bible was meaning by that. But I always felt like those were good, sound biblical reasons to want to be married and to be fruitful, increase, have a family. You understand? Like all those reasons. Like, where did I go wrong? Where did I miss it? Because the reason why I wanted to be married really had nothing to do with me thinking about my value or worth. I just wanted to be married and have a family because the word said so, because the Bible said this is what you should do. You understand? Like, I didn't feel, but the Bible also says, because Paul talks about, if you're blessed with the gift of singleness, you understand, if you can be single, then God can bless you to be single too. But I just didn't never feel like that was for me. I always felt like being married and having a family was for me. And I feel like I never did think about it having to do anything to do with worth or value, right? But I think that now at this point in my life, I'm learning that, okay, God is trying to help me see that I have to, those are things I need to understand before I get married. I do need to understand those things and not just want it because, out of a duty or, because I want to do it because I feel like this is what the Bible is telling me to do. I think God now wants me to understand certain things about it, and not just because, I'm doing it out of like, a duty or to be righteous. I mean, he wants us to be righteous and understand that those are the things that we should do to honor him. But, there's more to it that I just didn't ever think about before. I mean, I didn't really think about it. Like, I just wanted those things because that's what God told us that we would need, or that because that's what his word says. Basically, and when I say God told us, it's because that's what's in his word. You understand? And it's right in this section about worth. And it says, deceive women do not believe they are loved and valued by God. Oh dear. So I think at the point in my life when I got off, I was deceived. And I'm about to get into a whole hour, and Lord knows I did not mean to go on this long, but this is so good. And I'm just like, wow. I'm so grateful that I could talk about this now, because I never ever would have talked about this before. And that's another thing I want to mention, is that being single is not a shame. Like, I felt shame that I aged and began to grow up in my life, because I already felt kind of shame in church, had a child of wedlock, whatnot, whatever. That shame came, right? But then, like, even though I was young, I felt like, okay, there's still hope. Maybe one day I could eventually get married. So with me aging and not getting married, I felt more and more shame. Like, I'm still single. This is a shame. You understand? Like, so now, and that's the part too that I have to start accepting, is that singleness is not a shame. And I think my friend recognized that in me, that it was like, okay, yeah, you can be happy if you're single, but there's something else that's there. And she sensed that. I think she could sense that. And that's the reason why she went on with me about it. And I think now I'm recognizing, like, and the reason why I say I'm happy being single is because I've traveled. I've did things with my son. I did things, in my life with other friends. I've traveled. I've had fun in my single life. You understand what I'm saying? But I think that my friend, knowing me, she could sense that even though, okay, yeah, you happy, you go out, you have fun, or whatever, in your single life, but there's something else there. And she probably couldn't pinpoint it. And I think it was because there, deep down, there's a sense of shame that I have in being single, because I never ever thought I would be single, even though every woman in my family is single. There are still black women around me that are single. I think I just didn't even wait. Like, I didn't even look up to look around to see that, okay, what, and my cousin, whenever me and her had this discussion, she pointed that out to me. She was like, okay, Sunshine, of course, she got me by my nickname. Now, you're not the only one that's single, honey, and ain't ever been married. What makes you think you're so different, so special, so whatever? You understand what I'm saying? And she wasn't meaning that in a bad way, because each and every one of us are unique and special. But she was like, girl, wake up and smell the coffee. You ain't the only one, because in your mind, when you're focusing so much on what you're going through, and that's another thing that I mentioned in one of my other videos, you don't wake up to realize that, hey, you're not alone. You're not the only one. Matter of fact, you talking to me and I'm still single. You understand? You talking to me about this and I'm still single and I'm older than you. And I ain't never been married. You understand? So a lot of times we don't realize those things. And, I think with some of the experiences that I've had in my life, and just me being so focused on taking care of me and my son, it can make you a little bit antisocial, not in the sense of where you don't want to be social, but it just, you become antisocial by default. And then you kind of focus on yourself and don't wake up and open your eyes to look around to see, okay, wait a minute. You understand? I'm not the only one in this predicament. Lord, I done went into an hour, but we won't get that long. We will be coming back, and because Miss Keandra, I have to announce that Miss Keandra is going to be coming to the Last Word as a guest to discuss her book. And so we will be having another part to this. And I'm going to have questions ready for her and allow her to speak and share more about her life and details about her book as she so pleases. So I was so grateful that she had agreed to do that with me. It's just such a blessing. I thank God for this connection, and I thank God for her seeing me and inviting me out to her book signing, because she had a book launch and a book signing. But this statement right here, I just have to read it again. It was just so profound. Deceived women do not believe they are loved and valued by God. I think if I really would have receive that love of God that I needed to receive in the way that that I should have received it at times in my life when I did, because you will follow after his precepts and you will follow his commands and you will understand your body is his temple. You understand? And like with me understanding that, it's just like that's what the shame is, okay? The shame is me understanding that and still allowing myself to go off or to be disobedient or to follow after my flesh instead of following after the things of God in his spirit. Because the Galatians tells us that if we follow after the things of the spirit, then we would not succumb to our fleshly desires. And it doesn't say that in the exact words, I paraphrase that, right? So God has already told us that we were created in his image to rule, take authority over, increase, fill the earth, and to subdue it. And that sentence came out of that first paragraph. I actually started at that first paragraph. It says women are valuable because we have been created by God in the image of God for the glory of God to advance his kingdom on earth. And basically, because we give birth to more children. Okay? How do you think all of God's prophets came into this earth? Elijah, and you have Elijah, Jeremiah, you have all the prophets, right? Ezekiel, Daniel, they all came and were building God's kingdom on earth. They had mothers. So, but that's another thing and another reason why, I felt earlier in my life that I wanted to have a family and wanted to be married, to give birth to children that would be a part of God's kingdom, right? And I named my son after Elijah the prophet. That was one of my favorite prophets in the Bible, was Elijah. But honey, I done went on into an hour. I never ever thought I would talk for a whole hour, but I mean, it's not impossible to do. Don't interrupt my broadcast. He was like, that is real easy for you to do. That's my son. But anyway, so this has been great. I just really, really love it. And like I said, I wanted to share that one thing. There is more that I want to share from this book, but I don't want to give it all away because I want to ask questions to her when she comes as a guest on my show next week, and that will be on a Monday. So I don't know if I'll just go ahead and air it. We will probably do it live, but I'm gonna talk that up with her and go in a direction that she will so choose to do it. So, but let me see what else I've highlighted, because I highlight stuff in my books when I own them. If it's not borrowed from the library, sometimes I check out books from the library and different things like that. But this part, that section about worth, on page 53, that was out of volume 2. And that was the one thing that really spoke to me the most, right? Then there is another part out of volume 2, and I'll just read that. I ask God to beautify me, prepare me for my higher calling, to purify me by first breaking down any filtering that I was carrying in my spirit that kept me feeling I needed a man. I highlight that, y'all. Y'all know that really spoke to me. I said, Lord, have mercy. This book is, y'all, it is so spirit filled. It is just filled with power. Like if you a believer and you've ever had any type of walk with God in your life, whether you got off or not. I mean, I've had those times in my life, but though there are times in my life when I'm so committed and devoted to God, like, it's God speaking to you through his word, right? And so some of the self-help books that I've read, it's like Joyce Meyer's Battlefield of the Mind, and different books that you read that are like self-helps to help you with your walk with Christ. They really are even more profound to you because you already have the word of God rooted deep down in you, in your heart and in your mind and in your spirit. So when you pick up a self-help book that is biblically based, or that has scripture in it, it's going to immediately speak truth, life, power, hope, grace to you. You understand what I'm saying? Because you already have the word of God in you from your own walk with God. And that's the reason why never ever put like self-help books and different things like that before the word of God and before your own personal relationship and walk with God. You understand what I'm saying? Because these things cannot do anything for you unless you have God first. Unless you have God first. This is one reason why I say, like, I do love myself. Like, I don't get not being able to say that I would be happy just as much with a relationship than I am single, because the joy that I have is not of this world, okay? The joy that I have, the world didn't give it and the world can't take it away. So I'm not miserable. Please understand that. Now, miserable in the sense of, okay, yeah, there are things in my life that I can improve, different things like that, right? We're not going to always have happy days, right? But in spite of that, you understand, I still have joy because the joy that I have, it comes from above. So it's not based on what I have or don't have. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people can misconstrue your desire as if you lack something within your own self. I'm a whole person, okay? And the reason why I say I'm whole is because a lot of people who, like myself, know and are aware that they need deliverance from certain things in their life are not seeking it. That's what makes you not whole. That's the reason why I'm able to say with a lack of certain things in my life that I'm whole, because I'm seeking what I need from God. And I have to speak from God what it is that I already know in my life that He's going to bring me wholeness. I'm whole. Okay. But it looks like my son needs something. Yeah, I gotta go. And I already done talked for an hour, so it's time for me to go. But life at a glance. She tells her story. She tells her life. You understand? She shares her life with us in this book. She shares how God's word enriched her life, how faithfulness to God enriched her life, and how it led her to the man of her life and her, well, let me say, the husband that God had for her life. You understand? So, but that's it, y'all. Like I said, oh Lord, I just wanted to talk so much more about it. And just imagine, y'all, at one point in my life, I would never ever want to talk about this. It's so taboo. But because of that deep feeling of, okay, this is a shame. I feel like it's a shame, but it's not a shame. So, but it's just a journey that I'm on for consequences that I've had myself, right? But at the same time, things that maybe God wants to do in my life before that time in my life comes. And if it never comes, accepting Him and Him alone, and accepting myself alone in my life, even if it doesn't occur. So that's where I'm at with it. And I hope you all watch this later. You may not even watch the whole thing. Thank you. Bye bye.